Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. As always, I'm looking forward to spending some quality crafty time with you. And I've got some of the new stamps to play with today. This is a magical mini collection that Tracy's released, and all the stamps will mix and match with whatever you've got already. You know I love my florals, but also I love my splatters. And in the set there are 3. And I'm going to use the large one to frame this card design. I've got one of our lovely older stamps, and this is the seasonal tree. Penelope, she's gorgeous, and we've got 2 views of her. And I love this side view with her little lantern. I've got one of our existing stamps here, the gorgeous little cat Rune. So I'll start off with a 6x6 piece of the Multifarious card. Now, as always, I'm going to start with my stamping, you know me, and I'm going to start off with the VersaFine Clay, and this is the Nocturne. And this, with it being called the seasonal tree, we've got lots of smaller stamps of leaves, berries, so you can actually make it whichever season you want. I just love the movement in it. So there's a lot of detail in this stamp. So nice light tapping, but plenty of ink on there. And then I'm just going to pop it to this side, a little bit up there. And again, don't take both hands off at the same time, but we'll take one and then the other. And again, let that ink, give it time to soak in. And I'm just going to give it a bit of extra oomph and then lift it up. And as I say, look at that beautiful. So you just have to give the camera a minute to catch up. But the detail in there is just stunning. So where's my little girl? Oh, she's here. She is just gorgeous. And again, she's a silhouette. So I want to make sure I've got plenty of ink on there. And then I'm just going to put it, if I can, line the base up with the base of my tree. So I'll pop her there. And again, because she's a silhouette, now I'm just thinking she's a silhouette. So remember, if you make this design, it will be fabulous to use it on our hashtag Silhouette Sunday. So remember, on our groups, on social media, Lavinia for you and Reach Out with Lavinia, we have 3 inspirational days when you can share your makes. So we've got Tag Tuesday, Favourite Friday, when we'll give you a theme. It could be stencils, it could be mushrooms, you know, and Silhouette Sunday. And if you're looking for inspiration, you know, just give, or if Mr. Mojo's gone and you think, oh, I don't know what to do. And if it's coming up to Sunday, it gives you an idea to create a card or create a tag ready for Tuesday. Right, our little Moggy's going here. But it's so nice, as I say, because I know Mr. Mojo goes on holiday and he is a tinker, you know. He doesn't come back sometimes. I think he has those holiday romances, you know. So we need to entice him back. So a nice bit of crafting. Can't wait to see what you do with her. I really can't. There are so many ideas going through my head. You know, if you needed a new home card, one of the lovely houses. Oh, yeah, so much. Now, I'm going to pop them sort of here. Now, it could be you could put your moon mask on first. I'm stamping first, and then I'll highlight in with my moon mask. But again, depends how you fancy. And the other 2 are lovely. There's one in flight and one just looks like he's landing. So I'm going to give that a blot. Just because it's a slow drying ink. Good practice to get into. I'll pat that on the floor next to Mr. Eric. And what we'll do now is build up that landscape. And we're going to start off with Sahara. As I was saying the other day, it really is my most used colour. But I've got a new ink pad. My other had gone quite pale because I do use it a lot. So I am aware it's very juicy look. So I'm going to come in and get my mini hill masks, and we'll go for the flattest one. And I just find it easier, turn my work to the side, and we'll pop that, and let's see if we've, oh look, we can just catch underneath the tree, foot and feet. Yeah, I think we can just, and again, in to the lid and give it, the wonderful non-slip mat will hold the lid in place, look. And a little tip, when I'm first starting, I'm going to start under the tree, because if I've got too much ink, new ink pad, and the colour's quite dark, with it being darker under the tree, it'll just look like shadow. Now I just want to move that along a bit. And I'll just cover that bit there. I noticed I wasn't quite covering this end here. You won't notice in the finished product, but just not good housekeeping, I hadn't noticed. So we've got a little bit of ink there just to point it out, but don't worry, because we're going to add with the background. We'll add to it. So I'm going to give that a wipe. We don't want to put it away dirty. So what we'll do next is just look for a nice gentle hill. So you can decide any of them. And I'm thinking, let me have a look. And I do find the hardest bit deciding which is going to be my gentle hill. And I don't want it to sort of cut her off. So I'm thinking if we go over the top, maybe if I angle it this way. Right, I'm going to go for this. Now, I'm not going to add any more ink. I'll see if there's enough on my brush. Now, recently I've been asked about cleaning my brushes. I don't wash mine. I find I don't need to. But often what I do is use the ink up like this, look. So there's very little ink left on my brush. And I leave a little gap. Can you see there's almost like a white highlight? I find it's easier and quicker to colour, but also it makes the cat or your object stand out more. So let's lift that up. Yeah, happy with that. So again, good housekeeping. Give that a wipe. Now, you can add as many hills as you want. Because I'm going to be doing the stamping, I don't want to overcomplicate it. So I've just gone for the two. And then I'm just getting my little mask. I can guarantee the circle, the size I want's the last one to come out of the packet. Now I'm going to turn this round and we'll highlight our lovely raven there. Now, because I want the sky quite pale, again, I'm not going to add any more ink. I'll see how much I've got on. Yes, I could just do a little bit more, so I'm taking it from the lid, not from the ink pad. And you know what you'll find? This will blend better, but also your ink pad will last longer. And I'm all for things lasting longer. You know, it's another reason for looking after your things, clean them, keep them nice and fresh. Now again, here, look, I'm just going to leave a little bit of white just to highlight. Now, if I turn that round, put the lid on, I don't want to get that in the ink. Can you see, because you've got that white highlight just while I'm wiping the moon mask, can you see how it just makes that hill stand out a bit more? Now I'm going to come in with the truffle next, but I tend to clean my mat in between each colour. I know we're going to a darker colour, but just to keep it all clean and tidy. Now, I'm just going to get myself a piece, sorry Eric, piece of kitchen roll, and I'm going to start and blend some truffle just round the edges. And I always start in the bottom corner. Now I've used my truffle a lot recently, so I can actually come straight from the ink pad right along the bottom. And I'm just going to blend all the way around. And it won't show up as much on the Sahara where it's dark, but where it's lighter, you'll see it more. And I know I've got my moon mask, but I'm actually going to come over the moon and it'll almost give it a bit of a sort of spooky atmosphere. And onto the, and down the side. Now again, if I want, I can come in a little bit, just to add to that design. Right, the usual. And then finally, so we've got these lovely colours, but recently I've been using either Dark Denim or the other Midnight Blue to add colour with browns. And oh, do you know, I just love the effect. And you know when you find something that you really like, I'm sure I'm not the only one, it almost gets me a bit giddy. So if I show you this, look, it just gives a completely different colour tone. And again, I'm just going to add some along the bottom. And if I just do the base and then lift it up to show you. But what I tend to do, so when I've inked up, look, on the corners, nice and dark, but then I've got less ink on my brush, I can almost come across the design. Now, look at that. Don't you think that's a lovely effect? It just makes it, we're starting to get that misty sort of atmosphere. Recently I've been asked a lot how to create mist, and we've done it with our pastel pencils and with our white pan pastel, but this is just another way. So again, in this top corner, but just coming down the side and just a bit over that moon. And then last corner. And don't worry, we've got other things to do yet. If you suddenly, say you weren't happy with that bit, what you can do is just gently, gently come in and just move that ink round a little bit. Just gently, look, I'm hardly, but just to take that colour and blend it across. Yeah, I'm liking that. So, clean up. Now, you could smoosh this. If you've got a spare tag, you would have had 3 different colours there smooshed on it. And then you would have had another one ready to stamp, maybe with one of our new witches. So, you could actually be doing a tag. See, I should have told you earlier, shouldn't I? Now, look at that. And you could leave it at this stage if you wanted. I want to introduce that lovely background stamping first. So in with this lovely sentiment that's called Magic Dwells. And as always, look, I've put it's not a mushroom, it's an arrow, an arrow on the back, and sand dune, or Sandra Dune as we're calling her. Lovely colour for this. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to start in the middle and pop one on there, look. Then I'm going to work my way up and down. And I'm just going to match up so I almost get a jaggedy edge. So here we'll just have a little bit up to the raven. And I do ink up the whole of the stamp, because if I actually was to work out how far to add the ink, it just messes with my head. So I find it easy to ink up the whole stamp. So here we're going to come to about there. And I just like the way it sort of frames. And then right up to his little bottom there. And you can't see this, but that. So can you see just down that edge? And then we're going to come in with our paint splatters, look. So there are 2 smaller ones, look. But I'm going for the big one. And I'm going to come in with pine cone, so it really stands out. Now, I do need a new pine cone. I've been using this a lot recently, so what I suggest is if you start in the corners. So if I do that corner first, oh, look at that. Right, well, we can stamp over that now. We better do this corner. See, see, that's what happens. That naughty pixie. Flipping my ink pad over. So just try and turn the stamp. Just so you're getting a different side. You don't want it to look like it's the same pattern all the way round. And then here I just want a little bit, so I can just ink up that edge and just come in there. So if you need to make a brew, now's probably the perfect time while I just make a lovely frame. So let me think that. And again, you can be guided by the shape. And because I've got that there, I don't want to. So do try and keep turning your stamp. You'll find you get a much better effect, because it won't look too uniform then. Because if you're not careful, it's too easy to keep using the same design. And if just have a try at it and see. But for me, my own personal is, if I keep doing the same, it looks too uniform. It doesn't look like lovely paint splatters or ink. So let me see this one. We could go there. And then just have a couple of dots there. So can you see how it's building up? And it's nice because it's sort of in and out. I mean, you've almost got 4 different sides to this, haven't you, that you can bring into play. Makes me laugh that I was just thinking about a horse. Can you hear? I've got a galloping horse coming down me. Now, is that... Oh, yeah, we were lucky, look. That just fits beautifully. And again, we'll give that a wipe, pop that away. And I think the way that that is building up is beautiful. Now, what I want to do, I want to add some colour with my pencils and the little finishing tricks now. But I want to put some faux bleach in. So I'm very carefully, now this is just me tapping my fan brush, because I want to try and get some water splatters to go with the paint splatters. But I just want them, if possible, round the edge. So I'm just going to guide my Lavinia paintbrush. I want to add some pastel pencil there, so I'm not going to add any there. The thing is, I want those to just faux bleach while I'm doing the next little bit. That's the idea anyway. I mean, at home, you can let yours dry and then come back. But I'm just aware we haven't got a huge amount of time. So, Monduleurs pencils. Sorry, I forgot. Thank you for asking. The numbers. Number 2, 31 and 32. No, when we're just gonna... Beautiful yellow for our lantern here. But then also, I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow on the outside of the tree here. And then I'm going to come in with my darker brown at this edge of the tree. And again, you will take a lot longer with your colouring. Now I'm just going to turn it round. And I'm trying to be mindful to lean on my kitchen roll, just in case I've got any ink or anything on my hand here. The last thing, and also remember, we've wet this, so I nearly said we've wet it with water. That sounds a bit of a silly comment, doesn't it? And I don't want to put my hand in where it's wet and then spoil it. So as I say, you'll just take your time and colour this beautiful tree. So that's my darker brown. And then I'm just going to switch now to a lighter brown, just to add that little bit more interest and slightly different tones. But again, the pencils just work beautifully. And then I think we've got all the branches done, haven't we? So if we blend this here, just between that yellow and that other brown. There we go. And then pastel pencils time. And I'm going to start with some lovely highlights. Now I can just see how dry. Yeah, I think that's drying beautifully. But I'll lean on this, and I just want to add a little bit of highlight just under the wing, look. Just with the white, and then just smudge it out. Just so it sort of adds to the shape, so it looks like he's flying. And then we'll have a little bit on her hat here. Now again, it's up to you whether you use your pencils, your gel pens. You know me, I'm a pastel pencil girl, but however you add your highlights. So a little bit shape on our lovely cat. And I just feel if I keep smudging the pastel, it helps fix it, but also it almost gives it an eerie feel. I want it to look a little bit sort of eerie. And while I've got the white, I'm just going to bring in some yellow. And I want to add a little bit of yellow round the lamp, look. And what I've discovered that works well for me, look at the size of my white, you can tell I use it a lot. If I use the white to blend that yellow, I find it gives me a nice effect. And I just find that smudges it beautifully. Can you see? It just gives it that nice. So I'll add a little bit down there. And then I've got a brown and a black. So just to ground, and again, can you see the difference if I bring in, if you look at the finished one with those lovely little shadows, doesn't it make a difference? Just, I can't pick it up between the two, look. Makes such a difference, really grounds them. So shadowing will be sort of almost straight here, a little bit to the right here, and then this will be that way. So I'm using a brown, and then I'm going to come in with a little bit of black on top. And I'm just going to give that a smudge. And then if I want just underneath, just going to go a little bit darker. And this I'm just gently got, because I want that a little bit darker. And can you see, I just think the difference, worth doing that, my pastel pencils, and I love it with the yellow. So the very last thing I'm going to do is, I've got my yellow sparkle Posca here, and I want to add some Posca. And I'm going to come round, and I'm holding it, I've given it a good shake, and this is the bit for me, I think this is the bit that really works well. Just tap it with your brush, and I'm just directing it, look, right round the edge, on top of those lovely stamped splatters. And then when I've gone all the way around the edge, over the tree, now it might be you've added berries to your tree, flowers. Right, let's have a look. So give this a wipe, keep it all nice and clean. And if I just bring this, can you see how the beautiful look here, that lovely Posca. Now these almost look like paw prints to me. Looks like our lovely cat has put paw prints all around the design. And this one, once I'd matted and laid it, I've had one of our lovely sentiment stickers, I'm brave sometimes, because I'm out on my own and it's dark. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope it's given you some ideas. And do check, there's lots of inspiration from Tracy and the rest of the team of the creatives, and we've all done lots of videos, check out social media, just to give you ideas of what you can do with these lovely new stamps and how well they match with what you've already got. Honestly, I've got so many ideas, and I'm going to pop back with more soon. So you take care, enjoy the rest of your day, love and hugs from me. Bye for now.